Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Tech Thursdays webinar. Hopefully, you guys are able to see my screen and hear me okay. We're going to go ahead and get started in a couple of minutes. I see there are a couple of participants still trickling in, so we'll give them a couple of minutes and go ahead and get started here. So if you guys have any issues hearing me, please let me know through the Q&A feature. Thank you so much. Okay, welcome everybody. This is the PMI Northeast Ohio Chapter's Tech Thursdays webinar, where we meet every third Thursday of the month. This month we are talking about Microsoft Teams and planners. So let's go ahead and get started. So before we get started, like I mentioned, this is a Tech Thursday webinar. We do this every third Thursday, and our primary focus is on project management tools and techniques. If you joined us at the end of last year, you were part of our webinar on the challenges businesses face with Agile. We have a video recording of that available. You can go to our YouTube channel and watch it there. As I mentioned, today's is going to be on Microsoft Teams and Planner, and the following month we are talking about the new Microsoft project. As most of you probably already know, attending these webinars entitles you to a 1-hour technical PDU, and we will provide you with that information at the end of this webinar, so you can go online and claim your 1-hour technical PDU. We also have a Q&A feature with this webinar. If you have any questions, please submit them through the Q&A feature, and Dux and I will get to those. And as I mentioned, we do record these webinars. They're available for you to view a couple days after. And at the end of this webinar, you will get an email with a survey link that discusses, that just provides us with some feedback on how the webinar went and some of the content that you guys would like to see. So that really helps us out come up with engaging webinars, and the information is much more useful to the community. So please take your time and fill that out. It's just a very short survey, and it's really helpful for us. So a little bit about Dux. He lives in Washington, D.C. He is the CMO of AvePoint. He has 20 years of business experience. He is a very well-known public speaker, and he's been doing this for a really long time. He is a regional director and a Microsoft MVP, so he is an expert at the topic we are talking about today. I don't want to speak for him, so I will go ahead and let Dux introduce himself and begin with his presentation.
Awesome. Thank you, Awais. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. And, you know, I'm so excited to be able to have this opportunity to walk you through and how you can take advantage of Microsoft Teams and Planner. For those that may not be familiar with myself, I actually started my career as a project manager. I used to run PMOs for IT organization. I got my PMP back in 2003. And while these days I serve as CMO, you know, project management is near and dear to my heart. So with that, Awais, if you don't mind allowing me to share the screen, if you stop sharing yours, I can share mine, and we will get started. Awesome. All right, so just to make sure, I want to make sure y'all are seeing my screen. So Awais, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen. We see the Microsoft Edge browser right now and the PowerPoint now.
All right, fantastic. Well, again, thanks everybody for joining us today. So in the next hour, what I'll do is I'll walk you through with a lot of demos on how you can do Agile project management with Microsoft Teams and Planner. As Awais has mentioned, my name is Dux. I serve as a CMO of AvePoint, but I've been in this industry over 18 years, spanning from experiences in project management, development, a lot of engagement with PMI. And really what I want to do in this next hour is walk you through how you can practically use Teams and Planner to help you with your Agile project management. So before we get started, I want to do a pop quiz, and I want you to type it in the chat. What's the most used project management tool today? Actually, PMI did a survey to all project managers around the world about 3-4 years ago, just to get a good understanding of what tools people use. So if you don't mind, pop it in chat. And Awais, I don't see the chat, at least in this view. So what I need for you to do in the next maybe 10-20 seconds, just tell me what's the number one most common answer people have. What's the most used project management tool today?
It looks like a lot of people are answering with either Microsoft Project or good old-fashioned Excel.
Got it. So Project is not even on the top 5. Excel is actually number 3. The most used project management tool today is, drum roll, email. You want to accept it or not, email is the number 1 tool. I mean, if you don't agree with me, think about it, right? Where's that proposal? Let me check my email. Where's that latest update? Let me check my email. And the sad part about this is we're in 2020. We're in the new decade here. We're fancy with our new iPhones and we have the latest gadgets at home, but we still rely, most of us rely on email to run our projects. We could do better. And what we're going to do in the next hour is I'll walk you through with, I suspect a lot of you already have these tools. I'm going to walk you through in a practical way on how you can take advantage of the Microsoft suite of tools that you have. So what we're going to do is, number 1, talk about typical scenarios for project management. I'll zoom in on Agile. Second, I'll showcase how Microsoft Teams and Planner will meet your Agile project management needs. I'll show you some examples and demos. And then we'll also talk about other tools around Teams and Planner, things like To-Do, where does SharePoint come in, all that good stuff. And then lastly, I'll talk about winning and proven strategies to help you fast-track project management success around Agile project management for today and tomorrow. So with that, let's get going here, friends. What does project management today look like? So obviously, a lot of us, regardless if we're full-time project managers or not, we get involved in what I would call ad hoc projects. These involve things like, you know, short-term projects for 1 week or 1 month long, but a lot of team collaboration, going back and forth, tracking tasks, action items, all that good stuff. Second type of project that we get involved with are what I would call things that are semi-formal, where there are some methodology that we apply and processes and standards. So let's say you're working on a proposal. I live and work in Washington, D.C., so I'm familiar with the whole RFP process. So where you put a team together and you follow some kind of methodology to put together an RFP. And then there are very formalized project methodologies that we subscribe to. Some of you may have to subscribe to the Prince2 methodology, or some of you may have to subscribe to a very specific methodology because you're working on these big projects. So these projects are what I would call formal projects. Now, regardless of the type of projects you're working on, in the end, what we want to get to is we want to hit a home run. We want to be successful. And especially these days, we work in very highly complex, highly fast-paced environment. Having the right tool can help us get the job done. Now, before we jump into the tool, let me make sure, I know I'm talking to a bunch of project managers here, but I want to make sure we're all on the same page when we talk about Agile project management. I'm not saying one is better than the other. It's just depending on what you're doing, certain methodology and certain practices is better. When we think about traditional approach or traditional project management, right, we always think about the project management triangle: cost, capability, and time, or time, feature, and cost, right? Those are typically how we think about traditional project management. And what's fixed is almost always the output, the feature, the deliverable. In traditional project management, think about what's variable is the time and the cost. So for example, right, let's say we're building a bridge, and in the end we need the bridge, but we're behind. So what happens? We put in more money, we put in more people. Or we think about traditional software development, where we have traditional waterfall approach to our projects. Again, we throw in more people, we extend the time in order to get to that deliverable, the feature set that we want. Whereas with Agile project management, with Agile approaches, time and cost and the quality is fixed. We really want, a high quality type of product and deliverable, but the features are flexible. So depending on what's going on and how fast or how slow things are going, the feature set can be variable. So this is a very simplistic way of describing Agile project management. And if you know about the manifesto, really these are the 4 key pillars of the Agile project management manifesto. People interactions are more important than processes and tools. A working result, though may not be as fully featured as you initially thought it was going to be, is more important than documentation. Collaboration with the customer is more important than contract negotiation, and responding to change is more important than sticking to a plan. So change is okay, right? This is what's exciting to me, especially if you're in the technology or software world. People are so used to this, especially if you're doing things like DevOps or extreme programming. But there are certain industries that Agile project management is still quite new. So with that being said, right, so we've set up the different types of project, what Agile project management is about. How does Microsoft think about it? So today we're going to talk about Teams and Planner, but let's step back and look at what Microsoft has to offer around project management, regardless of what approach or methodologies you have. So today, when we think about project management, going back to the different models, where if it's ad hoc or if it's semi-formal or formal, it really ties into what Microsoft offers. So as we all know, it's not a one-size-fits-all. If you think about something that's not complex and it's ad hoc, where it's really more around tasks and more around action items, Microsoft has solutions like Microsoft To Do or Microsoft Planner. And I would even say Planner, while it sits here, Planner can actually span into the next level, where if you have more of a semi-formal or formal project, where you have a team, you have deliverables, you have formal deadlines, that's where a project professional comes in. And I would even say Planner can help there as well, which we'll look at in a second. And then last but not the least, at the enterprise level, at the PMO level, where you need to do program or portfolio level management and roll-ups, that's where Project for the Web. I know the next webinar, you'll talk about the new project. Project Online is now called Project for the Web. And there are really cool enterprise-wide capabilities, especially around reporting and resource forecasting that you can do. Now, the great thing about this is while it may seem like these are different tools, in the end, they all work together. So you may start with To-Do, you may start with Planner, but if the project matures and you need a more sophisticated scheduling tool, you can integrate Planner and Project Pro. And then once you're in Project Pro, you could do major roll-ups on Project for the Web. So today, friends, what we're going to focus on is around Planner and Teams. Now, we all know that while there's the discipline around managing projects, working on schedules and working on deliverables and ticking off tasks, that's just one piece of the project. Because the project itself is all about people. We're working together. So there's the task part, the meetings, the files, but then there's also the communication and collaboration part, right? Where day in, day out, when you're working on a project, there's all these interactions with people. Now, the problem is traditionally, and even to this day, that's where email comes in. We rely heavily on email as our PMIS, Project Management Information System. If you pass the PMP exam, you know what I'm talking about. Although when I took the test, I kind of forgot what PMIS was soon after I took my PMP. But anyway, so email has been, and even to this day, our PMIS, email has been that keychain that holds everything together. While it works, it's not ideal. And the problem we have today is this, right? We have our project task in Microsoft Project or Planner. We have our document in a SharePoint site or a file share or Google Drive or Box. We chat on Skype or we chat on some other tool like WhatsApp. And then we send emails. It's all disconnected. Now, those days hopefully are over because that's where Microsoft Teams come in. Microsoft Teams is your hub for teamwork. And I'll walk you through an example in a second where it brings everything together, which is perfect for working on projects. Because like I said, right, projects is not just about the activities or the tasks. When we think about projects, you have calls, you have documents, you collaborate, you co-create, you work on requirements documents. So there's all these pieces. And because of Teams, we're able to bring everything together in this one-stop shop. And I suspect a lot of you on this call or this webinar, in your companies, you have Office 365. So if you have Office 365, you have everything you need now in Microsoft Teams, including Planner. And again, I'll walk you through a demo in a second how you get started with all this. So think about Teams as that hub for teamwork, that one-stop shop that can allow you to put everything in one single place, getting you that true PMIS location that you've needed for that project. So what other capabilities do we have with Teams? Aside from the ability to centralize information, you can do calls, you can track all your tasks. You can extend it too by hooking it up to non-Microsoft products. And I'll show you this. You can even build bots so you have automation built in. And you can do chats and whatnot. So I'll show this to you as well. So with that being said, how do we take advantage of all this? How do we deliver agile project management success with Microsoft Teams and Planner? So I'm going to walk you through 3 steps, and then I'll show you a bunch of demos. All right. Now, by the way, friends, if you have questions, pop it in the chat. My good friend Awais I'll pause as I go throughout, but Awais will read the questions out to me as I don't see the chat while I'm presenting. I'll definitely be more than happy to answer any questions you may have. Okay. So let's get going here. So first step, to successfully deliver projects with Agile project management using Teams and Planner, number 1, you got to get everybody on the same page. You got to set it up in a way where we can collaborate efficiently, right? So how do we do that? First things first, what's your game plan? When we talk about Agile project management, there's a lot of different methodologies out there. There's Scrum, there's Kanban, there's DevOps, there's extreme programming, a bunch of stuff out there. And whatever you're working on, it's great. Whatever works for you, it's good. For the purposes of this example, or for our webinar today, I'm going to walk you through an example using Kanban. So for those not familiar, Kanban is a Japanese word for boards or billboards. And what I love about Kanban is very straightforward, it's very visual, and it allows me to see the flow of the work getting done. So for today's example, I'm gonna use Kanban. I'm gonna set up Kanban boards here. And the way my Kanban boards or my lanes are organized is based on these 4 different lanes. 1, backlog. The backlog will keep track of all the ideas and everything that needs to be done in the project. So regardless of, you know, the different people in the project manager, my subject matter experts, my colleague, my team, they can just keep putting all the ideas and tasks that they think needs to be done in the backlog. It may not be assigned to anybody yet, and there may not be any due dates that's related to it. And then my next lane is what I would call to do. Again, you can call it whatever you want. This is just how I organize my Kanban board. To-dos are clearly defined deliverables with a due date and activity detail. So the way this works is maybe there are ideas and tasks or activities in the backlog. If everybody agrees that we need to do it, we're going to move it to to-do. We're going to streamline and define more what it's about. I can have due dates, I can put documents on it, I can assign it to people, all that good stuff. And then once it's being done, we can move that task to the doing lane, and this will show what's currently being worked on. The key here is, again, there's really, at least in my world, I'm not hard on defining, okay, the duration of this task is 5 days or 4 days or 40 hours. I'll just put a due date there. Typically, in my mind, it takes 1 to 4 weeks and maximum 2 tasks at a time in this bucket, just to make it practical and realistic. This minimizes disruption and increases quality and on-time delivery. And then whatever's done, you put it in the done lane or done bucket. And all this is done in Planner, right? And I'll show this to you. I'll set this up from scratch. And then the underlying PMIS, like I said, that holds everything together would be Microsoft Teams. This would help manage all the communications, the iterations, the documents, and everything else around the project. Now, you may do it differently. You may be doing Kanban, and I just want to show you things that I do that works for my team. If you have something different, definitely go for it, okay? So with that, let's get going here. So again, the first step to deliver Agile project management success, we get started with Microsoft Teams. So let me fire up my Microsoft Teams environment. Just to make sure, Awais, you see my Windows environment, right? My browser?
Yeah, we can see your browser.
Okay,
fine.
Perfect. So if you have Office 365, you log in. So as soon as you log into Office 365, what you find is you'll see all the different apps, and obviously these apps are available on the desktop as well or on the browser, and you'll see Microsoft Teams there. So when I click on Microsoft Teams, it's going to fire up Microsoft Teams. And the cool thing with Microsoft Teams, not only does it work in the browser, you can download a client, you can download an app on your phone. It works on Windows and a Mac, now on Linux as well. So it's really flexible. It's project management on your terms. So I'm going to use the web app. So when I fire Microsoft Teams, this is Microsoft Teams. In case you have not seen Microsoft Teams, it's totally different than anything you've seen before in the Microsoft ecosystem. And really the purpose for Teams is it's that hub so that you can work with your colleagues. Now, some of you may know that Microsoft Teams also have calling capabilities similar to Skype for Business. In case you don't know, Skype for Business will be retired in a year. Microsoft is encouraging everybody to go to Teams. So before I start showing you the Agile, how you use this for Agile project management, what you're familiar with Skype, you can do here in Teams. So you can do one-on-one chat. Not only can I do one-on-one chat, the cool thing with Teams, for example, so let's say I want to talk to Adele, and I could do two people chat as well. Hello, right? Or even better, unlike Skype, if you've had Skype before, I'm going to do this real quick. Notice I took a screenshot, and I can copy and paste the screenshot. So it's very easy to use. And here's the cool part, right? So with Microsoft Teams, I can even create a group chat. I can call the, PMI Neo group. And you can do this with a mobile app. Now, some of you may be thinking, wait, this looks like WhatsApp. Exactly, right? So the cool thing with Teams is that, I'm sure you don't have to raise your hand. A lot of us know this. In our organization, some people use WhatsApp. Well, that's okay. It's not the best solution. But it has this WhatsApp-like functionality for chatting and talking and all that. So just to show you how flexible and capable this is. So everything you can do in Skype, you can do in Teams. Now, let me talk about things you cannot do in Skype, which makes Teams really cool. So let's go back to our topic here. So let's say, okay, Dux, I want to use this for Agile project management. How do I do it? So first things first, you create a team. So you can create a team, whatever you want to call it, right? So I'm going to create a team from scratch. I'll call it PMI Neo Agile project. So it's very straightforward. Anybody, as long as IT lets you, you can create a team. So as soon as I create a team, there's a lot of different ways you can use this. You can use this team for a department, and in this case, we're going to use it for a project, especially for Agile management practices. So who is in my team? Who's in my project team? So Christy's in my project team. Deborah is in my project team. Diego is in my project team. All right. So once I add my 3 colleagues, and I can add other people later. There you go. So now I have this team called PMI Neo Agile Project. And once a team is created, let me kind of explain the different pieces here. What else gets created? So we have these organized way of how information and communication is handled. It creates what's called a channel. So within the team, the way to organize information and communication is through these things called channels. So the default channel it creates a channel called the general channel. So I can say, hello, Diego. So I could do that. It only shows the people in my team. And how would Diego know about this? If Diego has the Teams app, he'll get notifications. So y'all are familiar with notifications. Or by default, it sends an email notification as well. Again, we're stuck on emails. Microsoft knows that. So you get the email notification and they can click on the link. It'll take them here. So that's one way. If I want to talk to the entire group, I can mention the group. I can say, hey, welcome PMI Neo Agile Project. And folks will get notification for that. So other than text, like I've shown you already, you can put in other types of content. So you can put memes and GIF and videos and documents. Now, some people are like, they would tell me, how can I block off memes and GIFs? People may put inappropriate things. My answer is, have you seen inappropriate emails? To me, I think this is great. This is just a different way or a new way to communicate. And if you can't trust your people to behave themselves, then new tools like this won't make any difference because I've seen inappropriate emails. So that's my take. I'm fine with this. I think it's just a richer way to communicate and collaborate. Now, what else can I do with Teams? So when you think about from a project perspective, right? Obviously, we may have documents. We may have content that we need to put. So let's say the cool thing with this is I can easily drag and drop documents, for example. So here, there you go. I'm uploading a PowerPoint. So the cool thing is I've drag and drop a PowerPoint file. You know, I don't have to worry about going to another place. Whereas a lot of you today, I suspect, especially if you cannot email documents, you have to go to like another website to upload a document for the project. Where here, it's very natural, right? It's in the flow where I can talk, I can put documents, and the documents I uploaded is now part of this project, limited to the 4 people who's part of this project. Not only can I upload this document, I can click on it, I can go to that document, I can look at it, I can edit it all in one place. So certainly if some of you may be thinking, well, what's doing this? This looks like PowerPoint here. Absolutely. This is where the power of Teams come in. It takes advantage of the existing Office 365 tools. So this is powered by Microsoft project on the web. And if I want to open this slideshow directly on the project desktop, I could do it, but it's already here. I can come and look at it, or I can edit it, and etc. So these are, and by the way, I could do co-authoring too, which means that I have 4 people working on that same document, or 5 people, actually up to 99 people, right? So that's a simple example of what a channel is and the things you can do in a channel. Now, the next thing within a channel, the way it's organized based on tabs. So I have, in this case, where I do my group chat is the post tab. The files tab would show all the files that we have here. And notice that the PowerPoint's there. And then there's a default wiki tab. I don't really use it because I stick OneNote here to capture all my notes. And the cool thing is I can put in a bunch of other tabs as well. And it's not just Microsoft related technologies. There's an app store that comes with Teams. So if you're using things like Trello or Asana or Google Drive or Box, you can integrate it to Microsoft Teams. So that's a quick example. So what I'm going to do next, let's get to Planner. So I'm going to add another channel. Other channel will actually look at all of our tasks, right? Because this is the part where I'm going to build my Kanban board here. So I create a new channel called Task. The general channel, I'll just leave it there as like the water cooler where, you know, the project team can talk, post stuff, just miscellaneous items around the project. But the task channel, this is the part where we're going to track all of our work, right? So the task channel, again, there's going to be the post tab, files tab. Go ahead.
Hey, Doug.
Yes.
Just quickly, we have a question over here
Yes.
from Abby regarding the PowerPoint file.
Yep.
She's asking where that gets saved and where that's stored. Is that some sort of SharePoint site?
Very good question. So thank you, Abby, for that question. Whenever you create a team behind the scenes, it actually creates 5 other things. It creates a SharePoint site, it creates a OneNote notebook, a shared calendar, a shared email address. There's one more thing it creates. Yeah, on top of my, okay. But it creates 5, 6 other things. So it gets stored in a SharePoint site. Absolutely. Because if I go to this Files tab, notice while it looks like it's, you know, it's a file library, notice it says here, open in SharePoint. So when I click on it, it pops open. It shows you the SharePoint site collection that it gets created specific for that team. Does that answer your question, Abby? Yeah. All right. Any other question, Awais?
Nothing yet, so I think you can keep going.
Cool. So just to recap, I created a new channel for tasks. This is where I'm going to put my Kanban board. So in the task channel, by default, it creates, again, 3 tabs: post, files. By the way, it doesn't create a new SharePoint site. Every time you create a team, it creates 1 SharePoint site. And then it has this wiki tab. I don't really use the wiki tab, so I'm going to remove it. Yep, because I use my OneNote notebook that gets created. Why is it not? Oh, it's trying. Okay, I'll leave it alone. But what I'm going to do next is I'm going to use Planner. Okay, so let me explain how all this works. So Planner is so let me call it PMI Neo. Planner is a separate Office 365 technology. So while it's creating it, let me go back to my Office 365 home. notice in Office 365, it gives you email, it gives you SharePoint, it gives you Teams. One of the things it also gives you is Planner. What Planner does, like I kind of walked you through earlier, it allows you, it's not as feature rich as Project or Project on the web, but it allows you to create a more organized way to track tasks, not only for yourself, but for your team as well. You can use Planner on its own, as you see. This is Planner. I can create a new plan. But the cool thing is, in conjunction with Teams, it brings it in to the team I just created. And again, this is what I'm talking about, where you have that PMIS, right? So I created a plan called PMI Neo. So what I'm gonna do in Planner, by the way, the lanes I showed you in Planner, how it's called is you have different buckets, right? So let me do this. This is my backlog bucket. This is my to-do bucket. I can create a new bucket called doing. I can create a new bucket called done. Okay. So it's very easy to use, right? And by the way, anybody in the team can create, can add tasks, can move stuff around. So I can say, you know, I'm just going to brainstorm, right, in the backlog. I could, we need to do a kickoff meeting. We need to, you know, do an RFP. We need to select vendors, whatever, right? We need to hire staff. So the idea of backlog is just like a laundry list of stuff we need to do. So now let's say, okay, let's further put details into this. So notice what I can do. I can click on RFP, I can look at all the details, but before I do anything, let me just drag it and say, okay, I could drag. So this is very visual, drag and drop, right? So now I can look at the details. I can put start date. I'll just start putting in a due date here. February 5th. I can add a document, all that. And I can even, let's see, assign it to people. So I can assign it to Diego, right? And I can assign it to Dux. I can assign it to 2 people. There you go. That's right there. And in the interest of time, I'll show you an example I did earlier. So this was the example similar to what I just walked you through. So in this example, I have a bunch of tasks in my backlog to do. And the idea now is, let's say people go to work and they look at a task that's assigned to them. I can move it to doing so the team can have a good view, a good picture of what's being done, right? And let's say if things are done, I can move it to the done bucket, like kickoff meeting. I can move it there and check it off. So again, it's very straightforward, very simple, and it can adjust to the methodology and process on how you do project management. So let me pause here, and I'm sure there may be questions coming in before I carry on. Awais?
Yeah, so I'll ask a question from Joseph first. His question is regarding the lifespan of a SharePoint site. So when the team is created, how long is the SharePoint site active for?
Very good question. So when you create a team, as long as the team is active, that SharePoint site is tied to the team and it's active as long as the team is active. So which brings me to my next point, right? So this is the part where having some level of governance around the life cycle of these teams are important, because as you may imagine, right, this could go crazy. So what's your, and I'll talk about this in a second, we'll talk about what's your life cycle process for your project team governance, meaning once the project is done, what happens to the team? Do you have to manually delete it, or because you're subscribing to some compliance like Sarbanes-Oxley compliance where you need to keep certain things for 7 years? What's the information lifecycle? Does it need to go to records management process? But to answer your question, that SharePoint site is around as long as that team is around.
Okay, I think that helps answer the question. So the second question we have, and we have quite a few coming in now, the second
Okay.
question is about sub-buckets. So within a bucket, can you create another bucket?
That's a great question. You cannot create a sub bucket. I can see why you want to do that, but the idea, especially with Planner, is unlike project, right? Where you can create a task and subtask. It's a very simplistic way of visualizing all the tasks and activities, but you cannot create a sub bucket.
Okay. Then another question we have is, have you used a colored tab feature for tasks, and are there any ways to best utilize them?
Yes, absolutely. So the example I've shown you is very simple. So I believe what you're describing is this, right? The labels. I've used this especially in a more advanced type of project where I use these labels really to categorize and organize the work, right? So, I use this for things like, you could use it for two ways. You can use it for the team that's doing, for example. Let's say you can put labels for, okay, this is for the IT group to do it. This is for the analyst group. This is for the QA group or the testers. You can do it that way. Or you could do it based on the different phases, if you will, of the project. So you can use these tabs for, okay, these are all around requirements. These are all around development, etc. But yeah, I've used this. But for me, anything that's simple and straightforward and it's only a few people, I just try to keep it simple.
Okay, and like I said, we have quite a lot of questions coming
Sure.
through. I'm going to ask you one more since we do have a hard stop at 1.
Okay.
There's a question about viewing your tasks across the team. So if you're on multiple teams, can you view your tasks across multiple teams in the same view?
That's a great question, and the answer is yes. So in fact, let me go back to my PowerPoint. I was going to talk to you about that. So I'm going to jump right into it. So we kind of talked about this, right? So we said, look, step 1, you got to be able to collaborate efficiently. So you set everything up in teams, just like I did. And once you set everything up in teams, you set a planner, the different lanes you have, different buckets you have. And then step 2, what you want to do is you start using Teams and Planner. You want to work proactively instead of reactively. The beauty with Teams and Planner is you have a one-stop shop, right? You map your Agile methodology to your planner. And again, the methodology is not just tracking and doing the work, but okay, how do you communicate? Every morning, do we do a stand-ups, right? So how do you do your calls? So you can, when I talk about if you're doing a stand-up, maybe you start a recurring meeting in Teams. So especially for remote teams, at 8 o'clock, we have our calls. You can have that recurring meeting in the team as well. And then obviously you put all your tasks, you have expectations. Look, if you're working on your activity, move it to doing so I know who's doing what, right? So you map your methodology and your practices to Planner and Teams. And you can track team progress. So quickly, if I go back, if I want to visualize all this, I can click on charts and I can see, who's doing what, right? I can look at a different view, all the backlog and then my to-do. I can see what's in progress, what's completed. I can filter it based on the member. And realize, friends, this is only specific to this project I'm working on. Now, for that question, well, Docs, I'm working on 10 different things. Is there a way where I can have a one-stop shop to see everything? The answer is yes. Microsoft has another technology called To-Do. For those not familiar, this is part of Office 365. Look it up. You can click, you can access it. I love this tool because apart from seeing all the tasks assigned to you in Planner, you can see all your other tasks in Office 365, your Outlook task, your SharePoint task. You can add to-do tasks. So if you've used things like Wunderlist or Todoist, it's the same idea, but even better, it pulls in all the other tasks assigned to you across Office 365. And not only does it pull in tasks, check this out. It shows all your flagged emails as well, which I love. I use my, look, I have to do on my phone. And at any point in time, I can see all my tasks, all my flagged email across the entire Office 365. So to answer that question, yes, you can see everything rolled up through Microsoft To Do. Now, the other place you can see this, I use To Do, but the other place you can see this, if all you want to see is in Planner, which is fine, I can separately go to Planner. I can go to Planner directly. And friends, by the way, you can download the Planner app on your phone as well. You can find all your tasks in Planner. So in this scenario, notice that I'm in Microsoft Planner. I have two plans, the Mark 8 project, the PMI Neo project. If I look at my task, it shows all the tasks for PMI Neo, Mark 8, all that. The difference is in Planner, it's just a roll-up of all the Planner tasks. Whereas in Microsoft To Do, it's a roll-up of Planner tasks, Outlook tasks, SharePoint tasks, flagged emails, and To Do tasks, which is something I use personally. Cool. Any other question ways we want to tackle?
Yeah, I think there's a pretty interesting question about exporting to PDF or an Excel. Is it possible to do that?
That's a great question. So let me think about this. I've never done it, so let me go back. So PDF, right? So I can answer the PDF part. I mean, for PDF, you just, in my mind, so let me do this. Let me go to my task, and let me go to the Mark 8 project, right? So for PDF, I would say it's as straightforward as just printing it. So as you know, in the browser, you could do file print to PDF. So if I hit print, I can print to PDF. There you go. So I'll see it visually. I don't think you could do Excel. I don't think you can export it to Excel. Oh yeah, actually, my bad. I take it back. I've never done this. So there you go. Here you go. I'm learning as you are. Export plan to Excel. So it looks like you can. So when I hit OK, let's do that. So I've just exported the plan to Excel. Yeah, there you go. Again, it looks weird because it exported task ID, which I'm sure you can clean up, but it's straightforward. So now, once you're in Excel, you can slice and dice it however you want. Awesome. That's a great question.
Okay, and one of the other questions is similar to the previous question about viewing multiple tasks across project, but can you do that for multiple resources? So for example, if a manager wants to have a team discussion with his
Sure.
reporting.
That's a great question. So the answer is yes, but there's a but. So I know where you're coming from. So let's say you want to do resource forecasting, you want to allocate, who's available, the capacity, all that, right? You can do it. However, you cannot do it directly in Planner. You have to rely on Microsoft Project Professional and then Project for the Web. So the way it works, and I'll share the instructions once we're done, as a part of what you can download, is you can actually connect Planner plans to Microsoft Project Professional, which rolls up to Project for the Web or Project Online, which you can tap into the Enterprise Resource Pool. And once you do that, you can go to Resource Center in Microsoft Project for the Web. You can pull up a resource. It will show, what is Dux doing this week? So we'll pull up all the tasks that Dux is assigned to between Project for the Web, Planner, etc. But again, in order to get a good view of all your resources and what's allocated to them, you will need Project for the Web, and you will need to connect Planner to Microsoft Project Pro. How's everything so far? I know we have about 10 minutes, but I appreciate your quick feedback. Drop it on chat. Is this helpful? Is it beneficial? Are you learning? Would love to hear feedback. Any other question aways?
There are still a couple of questions, but I think we will go ahead and let you continue because
Okay.
I said we have about 10 minutes, so I want to make sure you
so tell you what, here's what we can do. I mean, I'm grateful for all the questions. Once we're done, obviously this is recorded, but I'm gonna I'm sure there's ways for ways to send me all the questions. And once he sends me all the questions, I'll write up a blog post and we'll make sure we'll share it to you. So I'll address the questions you may have. All right. Okay. So step 1, collaborate efficiently, set up Microsoft Teams, set up Planner. Step 2, manage effectively. You start, mapping your methodology, your processes, your practices to using Teams and Planner. Step 3, you want to win consistently. We want to streamline and operationalize how you run and manage your Agile project. So what does winning look like, right? So one of the cool things with Microsoft Teams is you can templatize your team. So right now, when I created my team, remember earlier, I created my team and it asked me, do you want to build it from scratch or you want to create it from a template? And you can. So by doing that, you can make adoption easier and you can help clarify IT governance as well. So for example, right, what you can do is you can have like an internal project where you've already predefined the channels. You've already pre-populated the documents in SharePoint for all the templates you may need or checklists and what have you. And what you're seeing here, friends, is even something taking it to the next step. So there's an app in Microsoft Teams called My Hub. So remember earlier, I talked to you about you can download apps. So let's go to the App Store here. So there's an app called My Hub. There you go. So what you can do is you can add My Hub to Teams. By the way, if you add this, your IT needs to allow you to add this. But if you can, you add this. What you can do is you can start templatizing all these things and make it easy. So instead of your colleagues trying to figure out how to create all this stuff through My Hub, it's a questionnaire-based, step-by-step process. Say, hey, I want to create a project. What kind of project do you want? Well, it's an internal project, okay? Or it's an external project. So based on those questions, it's going to provision the right template for your users and use so they can get going right away. And in addition, not only provisioning the template, it can also pre-provision a lot of the policies as well. So like somebody was asking, right? Will the SharePoint site go away? Maybe you can predefine a policy and say, if the team is not being used for 3 months, go ahead and ask the owner if they still want it. If not, chuck it or delete it. Oh, if this team is created by HR, make sure once they're done, make sure you back it up and archive it, because anything HR does, we need to comply with privacy and whatever, right? Personal information type of stuff. So you can predefine these things. So again, the template is not just channels and configuration, but also all the policies you can employ. The cool thing with this is if your needs goes beyond what Planner can provide, like somebody was asking earlier, hey, how can we do resource management? This is the part where you can start using things like Project Pro or Project for the Web. And there's so much you can do. I know some of you may be using Asana or Trello, and that's okay. You can bring it into Teams as well and continue using it before you transition to Planner, perhaps. So, friends, hopefully that's been a very beneficial. And boy, I've got so much stuff that I could show you. So I've got tons of other resources, and I'll share it with you. But real quick, what I want to show you on our website, we have 2 things going on you can start looking at. We have tons of ebooks that you can download around Office 365, Teams, and Groups, and Yammer, and SharePoint. And this is all free, no strings attached, so you can come here and check it out. We have tons of ebooks. In addition, we write tons of blogs. And like I said earlier, I'm going to write a blog about all your questions, so I'm going to answer it on the blog. So here, right? So let's say I want to do learn more about project management, how to use Teams or Office 365 for project management. You'll find tons of stuff, right? So how do you do project management planner, Q&A, etc. So hopefully this was beneficial. I know we've got 5 minutes left. What do you guys think? Is this helpful? I'm going to put up my contact info here. hit me up, connect with me on LinkedIn, drop me an email. I know this is recorded. I'll share the PowerPoint with Awais, but if you want more resources, feel free to download it from this website. So Awais, any other questions I can address?
Yeah, I think we actually have a pretty interesting question regarding task dependencies. So can you talk a little bit about whether or not you can set dependencies within Planner?
Absolutely. So I'm sure what you're thinking about is things like predecessor, successor, as you're using Project Pro. Nope, you cannot do dependencies in Planner. Again, Planner is straight up visual view of all the tasks, moving it around, ticking the box. So those are some of the key differences. So you cannot put dependencies. But
okay, that is
real quick though, I just thought of something. But if you connect Planner to Project Pro, which you can, then you can kind of have a mix and match of both. You can start having dependencies in Project Pro. I'm thinking out loud. The way it may work is you may have a subgroup that, you know, they just need to get something done, so they use Planner, and then you bring it up to Project Pro as a milestone maybe, and then in Project Pro there's a more traditional way of running projects with dependencies.
Yeah, I think that is helpful. So I think, like you mentioned, there's a lot of flexibility here. You know, a lot of tools that you can pull in. So that's really exciting.
Yeah.
Hopefully the users found this as useful as I have. We are starting to use Microsoft Teams more and more in our organization, so that all the information was really relevant to me. So thank you so much, Dux. We really appreciate you taking out the time. Information was very well organized. I will have the users will get a survey link. So if you guys could please go ahead and enter your questions in the comment section for the survey, we'll make sure we compile all of those, send that over to Dux, and we'll share any sort of blog post with future learnings.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. And don't be a stranger. Hit me up. But again, thank you, Awais. Thank you, PMI Northeast Ohio. And looking forward, hopefully, to meet everyone one of these days.
Yes, thank you, Dux. So I will just quickly go ahead and finish off by sharing the same information. Please go ahead and connect with Dux. Reach out to him with any questions that you might have, and reach out to us. And the important stuff that you guys were waiting for, this is the PDU information. So there's the title, the course identifier, and then the claim code. So please feel free to take a screenshot of this, go ahead online and claim your PDU code. You will be getting a survey from the Northeast Ohio chapter of PMI. Please fill that out. And once again, thank you, Dux. We really appreciate it, and some really useful content. So thank you so much, everybody, and have a great rest of your day.
Awesome. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.